Hello, everybody, and welcome to Reaction Land. I'm your host, John Marshall.
Yes.
If you're new to the channel, please remember to like and subscribe. Go ahead and smack that bell to be notified of future upcoming episodes. Before I introduce my first guest today, I'm going to go ahead and show you a demo reel highlighting some of Steven's finest magic work. Here we go. Welcome to Reaction Land. Joining us today in the virtual studio is a magician joining us from Florida State, the one and only Stephen Hart. Good morning, Stephen.
I'm not the only. There are other Steve Hart, believe it or not, around the world. But I'm the one and only here in Florida, in the United States.
The only one that I introduced.
Thank you. There's one in New England and one in Australia.
So how did you get into magic, my friend?
Well, I got a real interesting story.
Okay.
When I was a kid, I used to watch Mark Wilson, The Magic Land of Alakazam on TV. But one day, a magician came to my school to perform. And this will be a day that some people will remember because it was November 22nd, 1963. And that is the day that President Kennedy was shot. At 11 o'clock a.m. in the morning, they made the announcement and school basically stopped. The teachers were crying. I thought that the Russians had killed him and the missiles were on their way and I was just going to die. That's what I thought was happening. Well, at 1 o'clock, the magician did his show. And here I am sitting in the bleachers watching the show. And the fear that I was experiencing left me as I was enthralled by this magic show that I was watching. The guy's name was Bob Bradley. And it was amazing. And then after the show, that fear came back to me when I realized, I'd been living in that altered state of consciousness watching this show. And then this voice, I swear to you, John, this voice said, "You will do this." I really got that message. That was in November. My parents bought me a magic kit for Christmas. And that was how it all got started.
Magnificent, man. For me, it was some of the comic books that I used to read, and there'd be these like little ads for $5. You can amaze your friends.
Well,
what can you
it's
do
funny
for
you brought that up. because that's exactly what happened with me. I lived in the cornfields of Indiana. There were no magic shops near me. So all I had was those comic book ads. And then I got this catalog, Vic Lawson's catalog, that had all those cool tricks in there at an unbelievable price. I mean, some tricks were $1, $3, or $4. And that's how I got started. I'd order those tricks from him. And in fact, I just mentioned to you, I have a website called the Dollar Store Magic Tricks.com. And the reason I built this website, everything on this website, all the tricks are under $10. And some of the tricks that are on there are some of the tricks you were just talking about that were in those comic book ads. The exact same tricks. So when you go to my website, you'll see, not on this page, you'll see an about page, go down to the bottom, you'll see photos of me when I was a kid, and then you'll see all the why I created that website, because I want other people to have that same feeling I had when I was able to go through and not have to spend an arm and a leg to have a decent magic trick. At the same time, some of the tricks on my dollar store magictricks.com are really good tricks. I mean, let's put it this way, at some point in my career, I probably paid 5 times that what I paid for them. But I'm able to, on this website, I'm able to provide it for less than $10. So anyway, but magic started out obviously as a hobby. And it didn't take very long before I started performing. By the time I was 12 years old and was getting paid. You know, I was doing church banquets and scout programs. And then I joined the Magical Youth International, which was an organization which now is being covered under the IBM, their National Brotherhood of Musicians. And they had a convention in Louisville, Kentucky. My dad drove me down there, left me there for 4 days by myself. I was 14 at the time. And I had some tricks with me, and they said, well, why don't you get into the contest? So I performed in the contest, and I won first place. I was shocked. So I come back home with this trophy, and my mom and dad didn't know what to do, because, you know, they didn't know much about magic. And you know, throughout my high school years, I continued to perform and make money. But they told me I had to get a real job. I couldn't be a magician. And my guidance counselor told me the same thing. My pastor told me the same thing. So I believed them. And I went to college, got a degree in something that has nothing to do with magic, worked in that field for maybe about that long. And I realized this is not fun. So I went right back to the magic. And when I got, and what happened was I ended up in sales. And that was the secret. When I learned how to sell medical supplies and chemical supplies like I was selling, it told me, hey, you can do anything you want to do. So I went right back to the magic. And within 3 or 4 years, my career took off. At this time, I'm married now. And within 10 years, I was making more money than both of my parents. And they couldn't believe it. They could not believe it.
So you learned how to market yourself and basically proved them all wrong. I love it.
Well, I didn't set out to prove them wrong. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. And I had such a passion for it. And then my parents were encouraging, not like they didn't support me. My mom and dad would drive me when I couldn't drive to all my magic shows. They still took me to the conventions to drop me off and go back and get me. Another thing, John, is I used to get books. And here's a book that I had that inspired me.
Yes.
And I would go through these pages and I would say, wow, they explained how to do the tricks. And I would try to imagine how I could create my own tricks. And I did. I actually, over the years, have invented several magic tricks that are out on the market that I've sold to other magicians. And it gives me great pleasure to help them share what I'm experiencing.
Man, did you steal that out of my cupboard here? I mean,
Yeah.
Last time I saw that book, it was in my collection. Wow.
Well, a lot of us have that book, and
That's a great book.
it really sparked me with a lot of ideas. I would see them do a trick, and I would say, "What's another way I could do the same trick?" And so, an adaptation. That's what I did. So
Alternate methods. Yes, very true.
well, when I was young, and I go through those catalogs, I couldn't afford some of those things. I would try to figure out how it is in my mind that they performed the trick, and I would sometimes try to make it. And sometimes I came up with a better idea. Not very often, but you know.
The mind gears are working.
Yeah.
So how did you get to Florida, my friend?
Well, my career was doing very well. I was based out of Indianapolis, Indiana, right there in the middle. So I worked, Cincinnati, Chicago, Detroit, Louisville, St. Louis, all over the Midwest. And then I had a TV show. I got invited to do a TV show out of Indianapolis, the Wacky Magic Cartoon Club. And I did that show for a year with some of my friends, and we had a blast. And then a cruise ship found out about me down here in Florida. It was called the Big Red Boat, and it was the prelude to the Disney ship. So they had the Disney characters on there, and then when I was invited to come in, they had all the Looney Tune characters. So it was a family show, which worked perfectly for me. So I was going back and forth when I was working the ship and living in Indiana, and I finally decided, you know what, I want to live in Florida. So I moved here 22 years ago, and I have no regrets. I love Florida. So that's how I ended up here in Florida.
Wow, man, that's you got a heck of a story there. That's great. I really wish that things had turned out differently in my life, but like Steve Spill told me personally on the phone, and I told him when I was 50, I was giving it all up, and he was like, "What are you talking about? You're just getting started."
Yeah.
And I thought about it for a little while. I was like, "What the hell is he talking about?" And then you're close to your retirement years, you really are just getting started.
Sure. Yeah, and Steve's a great inspiration too. Yeah. No, that's the great thing about it. People say, "Well, when you're going to retire?" Well, I'm never going to retire. I'm just slowing. I'm just slowing down. I'm not picking up the gigs like I used to. So, but that's a choice. Like the last trade show I did, I said, "That's it. I'm done." I kept raising my prices till they wouldn't want to hire me more because of my price. But it wore on me. I'm 60. I'm turning 69 this next week, and so after a while, it gets to you. And but I still really get a lot of thrill and enjoyment performing for the children's shows and the seniors. I do the seniors because they get my jokes. And they like my sense of humor.
I've actually loved doing senior shows. I mean, they're just like big kids anyway.
Oh, yeah, right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, overall, the kids are great. But like, for example, when I start the show, I make an announcement, and I let's get ready for some magic, and they don't know how to clap. They've not seen live entertainment.
Right.
So. Yeah.
Well, and I think we do take that for granted sometimes because, some people don't even know how to act at a magic show
or any live performance.
Right. And I think that Robert Baxt was very correct. Recently, he was talking about shortening the shows down because of the attention span.
Yes.
So
I heard Robert saying the same thing. I know Robert. Yeah.
Robert's a good guy. I've worked with him many times over the years, and that's a friendship that just lasted forever.
I'm inspired by my fellow magicians. There are guys out there who have really treated me well, and I if I go to a magic convention or a magic club, I go just to hang out and visit with people. I don't need to learn another trick. I've already got more than I can handle when it comes, and I have the stuff that fits my personality. But spending time and hearing stories and I'm inspired by the camaraderie in magic.
See, I was kind of that way too when I went to the to Jeff McBride's for
Yeah,
two separate
right.
classes.
School of Mystery.
And yeah, and it wasn't really like you said so much as learning more magic as it was getting the experiences. Like I met Johnny Thompson,
Yeah,
and
right,
he's gone, and man, I'm so thankful I got to meet him
right,
and see his egg bag trick right in Jeff's living room, and just wow.
right,
And
right.
get to talk to him and Denny Haney, he was also at
Oh yeah,
Jeff's.
yeah.
These are all big names for me and
I got.
you, but everybody else is going, who the hell are these guys talking about?
I was lucky to. I worked the Magic Castle 5 times, and
Ooh.
twice Denny Haney was there the same week I was. So we got to hang out together, him and Puck, and it was awesome.
He's got a great sense of humor, that guy, man. I'll miss him
I
forever.
I called him the Johnny Carson of the match.
The zany Harry, man, yeah. That's a good comparison right there. He really was.
Yeah.
And of course, Johnny Carson, God, who could forget that guy?
And Johnny Carson helped promote magic,
He did. He loved
he
it.
started out in magic as a ventriloquist and a magician. That's where he got his start. So a lot of people don't know that. So
yes. So I grew up with the Tonight Show, and I had the luxury of seeing the Tonight Show being filmed twice in my life.
oh really?
And yes, and the last time I saw it was like months before he was ready to retire, and I was like, oh man. But to hear the Tonight Show theme played live by Doc Severinsen right over there, yes, and you get this crazy idea because you see the show on TV and you think, man, this place must be massive. You think I must have these sets over here and this over here, and it was like the curtain was right there, the band was right there.
Yeah, right.
And Johnny's desk was right there. And it was like, what? This looks so much bigger on TV.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. When I had my TV show, we were in a really small room and we had our set, and it was, I think it was still a 2-camera shoot. And it's amazing what you can pull off on television and use in video. I have a little studio here in my house. I have a curtain, I make videos. And I put them on my blog. For any magicians who are watching, if you want to, I'm giving away my ideas for free now. I got so many ideas. I put them on my blog. I make videos, and to get access to it, you go to my website called Magic to Motivate, and it's the word magic and the number 2, and then motivate.com. And if you go to that page, down at the bottom, you sign up. I send you a newsletter, and I send you a link to my blog. And I'm like I say, I don't need to learn another magic trick. I'm giving away stuff. Someone said I should write a book. I don't have time to write a book. I'd much rather just make the video, post it up on the blog, give it away. And that's something I wanted to mention too. You notice I said magic to motivate. And what happened was in the late 80s, somebody said to me at a Chamber of Commerce, can you do your magic and give a little motivational program? And I said, sure. Well, boom. I ended up doing motivational programs for the next 10 years with my magic. And I adapted all these different tricks and routines to motivation. And I ended up making some big bucks. I mean, in fact, my slogan is motivational magicians are some of the highest paying magicians in the world. And I ended up for some major corporations, and what I made in a 1-hour program with a corporation doing a motivational program is what I would make in a whole month doing a magic show. It was amazing, but I don't promote that anymore, and I have my reasons why. And I'll just briefly say, some of the corporations want me to talk about stuff I don't want to talk about anymore.
How dare you?
It's
so I understand
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's not like I won't do motivational programs. I still love motivating. In fact, I've been certified as a life coach, and I coach people, and I help them in what I call self-discovery. And so that's one of the reasons why I've been so successful is I've spent a lot of time in my own self-discovery and understanding who I am, what are my gifts and my strengths, and capitalizing on them. That's one of the things I've done. So that's another work that I do.
That's amazing. I'm gonna have to look that one up, your website, because man, I'm always looking for ways to remotivate myself because yeah, I mean honestly, it is difficult to keep motivated these days and stay on track. Um, it's been a long time since I've tried to make a living out of magic, and I don't even know if it's honestly possible, but is
Sure
it
it is.
possible?
Oh yes, yes. Now I have friends who are still making the big bucks and doing a simple show. I mean, in fact, I just raised my prices just recently, and for my kids shows and senior shows, I have. So the money is there. Um, there is a desire within people to see live entertainment, and magic is very unique. It has a, a mystical spell that it puts upon people when it's performed correctly and make it entertaining. You're not just a trick; you're entertaining people. So, yeah, there's there's money to be made. You know, I could go through a long list of places. First thing I did, when my career really took off, is I became a street performer. For 3 years, I worked inside of a festival marketplace as what they call an atmosphere entertainer, and it was like street performing, but I was inside of a marketplace, and I had to do my own show. I mean, I put a sign up, and I drew the crowd in. I did the show and put the hat down and took money that was in the hat. I did that for 3 years. That's where my career really took off because that time I put into being a street performer made me what I am today. And some of those routines I'm still performing today.
That's amazing. I was hired to do a show at a movie theater, and I was broken into the whole idea of that right there as a complete accident because I was prepared to do my whole square circle, and I did that the first time around, and I was like, how am I going to reset this and do this over and over and over again? And I became very perplexed, and that was before my trip to Jeff's because Jeff really does teach how to perform a commando show, which is
His
more
commando
of a
show. Right.
which is more out of a suitcase, and
Right.
I really wish I had that piece of
Yeah.
information.
No better way to learn. And,
Oh yeah, hot seat.
I always tell new magicians, young magicians, all you need is more stage time. So if you can't get it on stage, go to a street corner or a festival or whatever, and do it just like work like a street performer. Now I did get lucky. Right after my job as working in the festival marketplace, I got hired to work in a nightclub magic dining area called Illusions. It was on the north side of Indianapolis. So I worked with guys like Mike Close, Chris Kinner, Homer Lewag. It goes on and on and on. And we would do table magic, and then we had a lounge show that we would do. And I did that for over 10 years. Yeah, over 10 years. And so, doing that every week, and I worked at the same time, I was working 4 restaurants doing magic. So that's why I was able to make that money I was telling you about. I made a lot of money. Yeah. But I don't make a lot of money now, but I don't need the money, so.
So you performed at the Magic Castle. I was a member there for 5 years, developed a love for it very early on because I had been invited there many times. But when I got to be a magician member, I was really disappointed that I did not have the drive to want to be on any of those stages. I mean, I wanted to, but I was scared to death, intimidated by every room.
Yeah,
and of course,
it can be intimidating.
When I met Billy McComb, he took me backstage.
Billy.
The old leprechaun Billy. He came out of nowhere. I was coming out of a lecture out of the close-up room, and one of the panels opened up, and Billy come. I was like, wow, what a neat trick. And he goes, my boy, come here. And I followed him down the hallway to the Palace of no, it was the
Parlor
the parlor, the back room of the parlor. And he brought me into the back room where I could just see the backstage area. And I was like, wow, I've never been back here before.
Uh-huh.
I kind of looked at him. I was like, is he going to kill me? Or, But then Billy goes, I'm going to show you something that's going to change your life forever. I said, what? And he pulls out his Ziploc bag. He says, I keep all my props in these things, and I keep them all labeled, so I know where my tricks go when I'm done. And I thought to myself, well, that's really odd. And he said, well, I've had water accidents and things happen. And
me too.
These bags keep your props all nice and clean. And I was like, this guy's crazier than a stick. But you know what? All my stuff is in Ziploc bags.
That's great. That's great.
Because if Billy tells you something, you better listen to it.
Let me tell you a story about Billy and me. I performed twice at the Castle, and I wasn't planning on going back again. And then I was at Abbott's to get together in Abbott's in Cola, Michigan, and Billy was there. And when he saw me, he came up to me and goes, why don't you come back to the Castle? I was blown away that he even remembered me, you know, and knew who I was. And I turned to my wife at the time and I said, I got to go back. So I went back 3 more times. And I was with Billy. In fact, one of the last times I was there, I was doing a lot of comedy in my show. And at the time, the Castle wanted a lot of magic, not a lot of comedy. And so they were going to pull me out and take me downstairs and have me perform downstairs if I wanted to do my comedy. And the head guy in charge went over to Billy and was talking to him. And I heard Billy say, leave the boy alone. Let him do his comedy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, come on. The Magic Castle was famous for that. I mean, Milt Larson was a comedy magician.
Yeah, and Bill was my inspiration about that. And I couldn't understand why they didn't want me to do comedy. So anyway, that's changed over the years. So, yeah.
So nowadays it's more of a prestigious thing, huh? I mean, they don't mind comedy as long as it's not the bread and butter of the act. That's really strange.
Right? Yeah. Well,
what is your favorite room to perform
I only performed in the parlor. No, it was a perfect room for me because that's pretty much what I experienced when I worked at Illusions at the Lounge. That is the same act, you know, the same routines. They assigned me to the parlor because they saw that was.
But they know your act,
right? I mean, I could have gone back and done close up, and could have even done the stage if I really wanted to, but I didn't want to. I really liked that room. The parlor is perfect for me.
It is a more intimate room. That would be my favorite room as well if I were to do it. I would also have the memory of. I love it, man.
I'm telling you, all you gotta do is make a video, send it to Jack, and say I want to work the parlor.
I'll have to ask you about that afterwards for sure, because man, I don't really know, and all the other magicians that I talk to are very like.
You have to realize Jack told me how many magicians you have to hire every year to fill all those rooms. And every week, I mean, you know, so they have to hire a lot of magicians. So all they want is some good magic. And I've seen some great magic. Oh my God! But I've seen a few acts because what I would do is I would go in the day before. I'd fly in so I could see the act that was working the week before me. Sunday. I saw the act on Sunday, and then when I was done on Sunday, I would stay on Monday to watch the following acts that came in. I wanted to see as much magic as I could, and I loved it. I loved it. Right.
I know Billy was somebody I've seen his act many times, and I'm so thankful for that because man, Billy was a treasure. many other great magicians, Chuck Jones, and
Yep.
hard acts to follow. And, you've got the history of the building that just is intimidating to a guy my size. And
Very magical place, isn't it?
it is. And, nowadays to hear the people talking about it being racist and all of this, it's like, come on, man, you don't even know what you're talking about.
I never heard that.
There is no well, they're trying to say because of the dress code that it
oh jeez, that's just a matter of prestige. I mean, let's honor one another, and they want to require you to wear a tie and a jacket, or at least a presentable outfit. And
well, I could understand that argument if they were letting people in on the street, but you got to know somebody to get into the Magic Castle.
Yeah, right.
I don't even think I could get in if I wanted to, because I tried to get my sister and her husband in there a couple years ago, and I ended up calling Steve Spill when he still had Magicopolis. And Steve was more than happy to take my sister and husband in for the,
let me tell you, the other thing that was nerving for me is when there would be movie stars in my audience. And that would happen because there's a private club. And one of my most memorable experiences was, what's the guy from MASH? Alan
Alda?
Alan Alden. Alan Alden was in my audience with his aunt and uncle. And afterwards, he stayed afterwards, everybody leave. And he shook my hand. He says, I want to thank you. He says, it's not very often you can have so much fun in such a short amount of time. I remember him telling me that. I went, whoa.
How delightful. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, and celebrities, I don't know. Nowadays, I'm kind of on a fence with celebrities anymore because of the whole woke stuff. But
same here.
When I was working at Reuben's Red Hot, it was a hot dog place on Ventura Boulevard. Was a Chicago dog place. Loved working there. Very unique. Celebrities would come in all the time, and I'd always have tricks in my pocket. My professor's nightmare would be over here. I'd have my cups, or I'd have my sponge balls in this pocket. And Dave Madden came in one day. That was Reuben Kincaid on the Partridge Family.
Yeah.
And I did some great little tricks for him, and he took me aside afterwards and he said, man, he goes, thank you. He goes, it's been a long time since I've seen somebody do some magic. He goes, I used to do magic, water magic and stuff. And I get all nervous and the hands would be shaking and the water would be like, I'm like, well, I can relate with that because I still get those jitters every now and then, but especially when I'm in the presence of greatness.
Yeah, Dave is another Hoosier, like I am. He was from Terre Haute, Indiana. And so I met him at the Abbott's get-together. And then when I moved to Florida, he moved to Florida. And in fact, he passed away when he was living in Jacksonville. But no, Dave was great. Great inspiration.
He was such a loving man. I mean, honestly, I mean, here I was a stranger at the hot dog place. I'm like, hey, you mind if I show you a few tricks? He's like, just serve my hot dog and leave me alone, No, but he was very, very, observative, and it was a lot of fun. In fact, I took my magic up another level after his inspiration with me, and just
good. Yeah,
I've got a lot of great memories, and I don't want to quit. I mean, I've had this opportunity to sell my linking rings, and I would have been taking a really huge loss on it. And I was like, you know what? Just put them in the casket with me. I'm just gonna keep them, man. These things were $500, man. I can't let it go. But I love those rings, and they make a beautiful sound when you do it, and they're the big stage rings, and there's just that experience and memories of being in Jeff McBride's living room performing them, having Eugene and Jeff critique me, and
That's great.
Those are moments I will treasure for the rest of my life.
Yeah. So get back out there and do it.
I'm going to definitely do it. I'm going to definitely do it because
people need our magic today. You alluded to that a while ago, and people need the magic. They need the feeling of escaping this matrix reality that we're living in right now.
Woo!
And then on top of that, they need to be inspired that you can do things that are unexplainable, and creativity, being able to be creative with your magic. I mean, that's one thing I've been pushing all my careers. The more creative you can be, the more entertaining you can be, because you're doing something. You take a trick that's a standard classic trick and turn it into something else, So, and in fact, that's why I've been putting on my blog. So I'm telling you, go see my blog and see the stuff I've been putting on there. And I'll give you an example. The most recent one. There's a bottle. Energy bottle that you vanish in a sack. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I looked at that bottle and I was using it in my show as an opener. And I said, wait a second, that almost looks like a baby bottle. So I took the cap off, glued on a nipple and now it became a baby bottle. And now I opened my show by saying, when I was a baby, I was always trying to do a magic trick. And when my milk was all gone, I put it in a sack and try to make it disappear. And in the whole routine, I go, but I wasn't a magician then. Today, I'm a magician, and boom, I collapse it, and it's gone. And so
wonderful.
I just took that trick and took it to the next step.
When I was just a little amazing, Woo, man!
A long time ago that I'm not into. People can steal my material if they want to, but I would like for them to give me credit for it. But at the same time, I really don't own my ideas. I'm just a conduit in which they come through. That's my perspective. But a lot of people disagree with me because they want to have hold on to the rights. I mean, I prefer to hold on to the manufacturing rights of the tricks I got on the market, which I've had some people rip me off and pirate. My most famous trick, I don't know if you know this, but I developed a trick called the burnt shoe trick, where you whiz coat, where you borrow a kid's tennis shoe and you put it in a box and you're going to change the color, and it ends up burning the shoe. Have you seen it?
Oh my gosh, yes, I have a friend of mine, Sean Durham. He does that trick.
Yeah, that's
wow.
I originated that trick. Yeah. And I sold it through Chalet Magic for many, many years. And then George Kimmery retired, and now I have a new manufacturer. So,
see, I can't even imagine magicians getting mad at something like that, because the masked magician, he really ruined it for a lot of people. But those were alternate ideas and versions of the trick. But you put that in people's heads long enough,
I didn't let that bother me. Even when he exposed the linking rings, I still went ahead and did it, and people, still were fooled. It's first thing, they don't remember after watching. If a secret is revealed to them, rarely do they remember exactly how it's done, and they couldn't perform it if they did know how it was done, because that's a whole other issue. But most people forget. So.
I think at the beginning, it really upset me a lot, because I was really a nobody. And I thought to myself, man, what if I had spent that $700 or $1,800 on that zigzag, cabinet, just that one trick, and it's just, like you said, it shouldn't really matter, because it's really about the performance and it's about your presentation.
Even when they know, if they've been shown how it was done, watching it being performed is still very entertaining. Because it's just like dance. Anybody can dance, but dancing in an artistic form is very entertaining.
Absolutely.
A lot of people can play the piano, but not everybody can be entertained playing the piano,
That's right. You can't be Irma, not invisible and entertaining as heck.
Well, we know who Irma is. But
of course. Yeah, that's a shh. You'd have to go to the castle for that.
You gotta see Irma at the castle, right?
So wrapping this on up, my friend, you know, you have a lot to offer some
Thank
young
you. I've been
magicians,
blessed.
and
Yes.
I think it would only be appropriate to ask you if you had some magical advice to give to some young budding magician or somebody who's just
Yes.
thinking about getting into it. What would you recommend?
Yes. Follow your passions and don't let other people tell you what you can and cannot do. Uh, Connect with that spark within your heart and in your mind, and let that lead you, because that's what I did, and that's what I'm still doing today. After, well, I'm 69 years old. I started off when I was 10, so you do the numbers.
And you're just getting started, man.
Hey, I'm still out there plugging away. I did 10 shows in the last 2 weeks, and I wouldn't plan on doing that many.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Stephen, I thank you so much. And we're going to have you back on the show, my friend. And
Please do.
I just,
And go to my dollar store magic trick and look at the photographs of me on the about page of when I first started off in magic. That I hope that's an inspiration for some people. So.
Just the pictures alone inspire you. Thank you so much, Stephen. Such a pleasure meeting you, my friend. And
I look forward to meeting you in person someday.
I do too, my friend. I do too, and hopefully it'll be at the castle or somewhere magical. Or this was the way it was meant to be.
I want you to come to Florida.
I would love to come to Florida.
Right? No,
man.
Florida's a very magical place, and here's. I will tell you this real quickly. When I came to Florida, people will say, "What do you do for a living?" I say, "I'm a magician." They go, "Oh."
Whoa.
Down here, they've not seen, we have the Magic Basketball, we have the Magic Kingdom, but they've never seen a live magic show. And so it was.
Isn't that something?
It was interesting. But you understand, Florida, I mean, everything around me right now wasn't here 60 years ago.
Okay.
Florida is a booming state. After the NASA program and that really opened Disney, all that is what opened up Florida. And it's expanding. And we still got a lot of room. I live over here by the ocean, near Cocoa Beach in Melbourne, and there's nothing between here and Orlando. Nothing. It's slowly starting to build out. But so come on down, folks. Come on down to Florida. All right. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, Stephen. Such a pleasure having you.
Yep.
And God bless you. Be safe, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was my show for today, and I do thank my guest, Stephen Hart, for joining us. It was a lot of fun, great times talking to him, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. As always, God bless you.
You dummy. Why? See that?